has the spirit of volunteerism in her DNA. I think she was born with that gene.
I'm a Texas girl, and I like to think I have a heart as big as Texas.
So I think when you think about one word in Carolyn, you know, the first thing you might think about is classy, or you might think about her being super generous. But I think a good phrase for her is, you know, I see her as a servant leader, but she's a glamorous servant leader. So I think glamorous servant leadership is sort of what we're talking about when we talk about Carolyn Farb, because she's absolutely helping it work, but she still looks good all the time.
What is extraordinary about her is that people see her as this beautiful woman who's in the paper all the time, but in fact, most of the philanthropic activities that she conducts, no one hears about. She's working almost 24/7 every day on smaller projects that don't get a lot of recognition. Her whole life and her whole heart is dedicated to helping others.
So my parents said, why don't you go meet Carolyn Farb? She's doing the telethon for the University of Houston public television station. You could help her. So I came down to the television station and introduced myself, and we raised, well, mainly she did, but I was there helping, and I think they raised more money than ever before in a telethon in Houston. And that was just the beginning of knowing Carolyn and her talents.
I first met Carolyn Farb after a performance of Don Quixote with Houston Ballet, and I was dancing the lead. Well, Carolyn used to come to all of my events, no matter if they were big events or small events. She came to quite a few of my open rehearsals, which was just very casual meet and greet and getting to watch the process of how the ballets were created. And then later in 2009, she threw me, our company, our very first big formal gala called the Firebird Soiree.
Well, my special story about Carolyn is that event she sponsored for MD Anderson. This was Marvin's $1 million evening, and we raised actually $1.5 million for MD Anderson, and I was introduced not only to her, but to Marvin Zindler, who was quite a character, and to Lyle Lovett. It was a fabulous evening.
The president of the university was certainly an acquaintance with Carolyn's, and Carolyn knew John Baer, who was the dean then of natural science and mathematics. But Carolyn was a fan, really, of Ant Farm, the architecture and art collective, and one of the founders of that collective, Doug Michaels, was a very close friend. So there was an event wherein the Ant Farm members were back together again in Houston, and I was introduced to Carolyn formally at that point.
I met Carolyn in the mid-'80s at South Texas College of Law, where I was attending school as a second-year law student, and Carolyn was an icon. We knew her as a society lady then, before she'd been dubbed First Lady of Philanthropy, and she was very impressive, both in her charisma and in her looks, and she did raise money for the law school.
My name is Brian McElhenney. I'm a physics and mathematics student here at the College of Natural Science and Mathematics. I've received awards, scholarships from the NSM Alumni Association that were funded by the work of Carolyn Farb.
Building an accessible playground is something that the disability community has wanted for years, and I learned that Carolyn Farb was very interested in helping to make this dream a reality. So the Houston Parks Board and the Parks and Recreation Department put me in touch with Carolyn, and we began to coordinate on a volunteer effort to raise money for these playgrounds.
And Carolyn really is the epitome of the volunteer and what it takes to donate and dedicate time, effort, and energy. She really sets the bar and sets the standard. And we are so blessed to have somebody like Carolyn in our community.
The key word to volunteerism is the passion. Having a passion for something that you want to give your all to, no matter what. And that's what I've had for so many causes that I've undertaken here in Houston, and they're all deserving, worthwhile, and I would do it all over again.
This award today is about philanthropy, and Carolyn literally wrote the book on philanthropy. In fact, This is called The Fine Art of Fundraising. This is one of 2 books she has written, and it's hard to get your hands on one, but people read this who are involved in philanthropy because it has all the tips of many years of Carolyn's work. When she decided to be the first woman to ever raise $1 million in one night, and it was called the $1 Million Evening for John Stalin for cancer, and she had Liza Minnelli, Marvin Hamlish, some really great stars that she convinced to come here.
What would Houston look like without a Carolyn Farb? I would ask, what would the world be like without Carolyn Farb? And I would say, not near as good a place.
Carolyn is iconic. She's also fearless, and she's, in every sense of the word, magnificent.
I think I am a better fundraiser having followed in her footsteps for a number of galas, because she's someone who goes up there, no fear. I'm going to talk about this issue. This is an important issue, and I want you to be a big supporter of this issue.
Carolyn influenced me by helping me to learn how to think big, how to think audaciously, because when I first learned that we were going to team up together on this playground project, I thought, well, maybe we can raise a little bit of money and it'll take, 10 years. I was so naive. We were able to get 6 more playgrounds without limits, inclusive playgrounds, just like this, all around the city of Houston. And it's far exceeding my expectations.
And how lucky are we to call her our own and to be able to tell stories of her impact right here with the people here, the charities here, and the lives that she's impacted and changed. Pretty cool.
If you know you're going to change a person's life, it's everything.
I would define Carolyn Farb as passion in the flesh. When she believes in a cause, there's no stopping her, and there's so much that our world needs. Carolyn is a real blessing and the true First Lady of Philanthropy in Texas.
I wish her congratulations and health and many happy returns of days like this one.